As summer wraps up, I think I'd like to take a little look back at what I've gotten up to over the summer, whether that be business related, life related, writing, editing, reading, crochet, hiking, lots of different stuff. I think it's just fun to see what the season has brought us, and also then we'll talk a little bit about what to look forward to in the next season. Welcome to my end of summer wrap up. Hi, hello, welcome in. I'm Jerica. I'm a writer, editor, and all around content creator. And you'll see on this channel that I deal a lot in words, whether that's writing them, editing them, reading them, analyzing them, just thinking they're real cool. But I think it's fun to talk a little bit about some of the other things that I've gotten up to as well. So feel free to hop around to the parts that you think are interesting, but we're going to take a look at everything that I got up to this summer. Usually I would do, like June, July, August of summer, but since I started this whole editing journey and, everything else kind of fell in line on May 1st, we're going to include May, but in future seasonal wrap-ups, we'll do 3 months. So yeah, let's just start at the beginning. So the first section of this is going to be kind of just some fun life events, some general business stuff. So the first big thing is that I started my freelancing business on May 1st. I had been working on the website for a little while in my spare time while I was doing my placement. So my placement was 6 hours a day a week, was 6 hours a day for the 5 days of the week. So I'd spend a little bit of extra time afterwards working on my website, knowing that I was going to be graduating soon and that I would need to be doing something. So that's what I did. I set myself up to be ready to be freelance editing and writing. And along with that, I had been wanting to start some booktube stuff for quite a while. You'll see that I have book reviews coming up of books that I read over a year ago, rather than the books that I'm reading right now. Hopefully we'll catch up and be able to talk about those books a little bit more in depth as well. It's coming, I promise. Obviously, also, because you can't just have a business and not tell people about it, I also started posting regularly on, Instagram, Facebook, X, apparently. I would be posting more on Blue Sky if there was a native scheduling function, but it turns out the native scheduling function for X or Twitter also hasn't been working for me. So if that's where you were following me and you were like, what's up with this weird scheduling of posts where only a few posts go up sometimes, I didn't notice. My bad. I should really check in on that better. And of course, you've probably seen that there are also blog posts that are going up alongside some of my videos. If you haven't noticed that and you've only been looking at the booktube videos, you might be interested in some of those other things. The first couple were geared towards people looking to hire an editor, but coming up, we're going to have some on self-editing, setting writing goals that are achievable and work for you, general writing advice, tips, tricks, editing advice, tips, and tricks. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming. So if you like to read as well as watch, you might be interested in some of those blog posts. I didn't really mean for this to be, self-promo of all the things I did, but it's kind of big that I started doing all of these things in May. So, that's the first big thing. If you are following me here because you used to follow me as Chickadee, you may notice that I've been a little absent on that side of things. The first little bit of the summer, I was still definitely posting some gaming content, but I really wanted to focus on the words side of things, or the Jerica side of things. So that has definitely taken kind of a back seat. It doesn't mean that I'll not go back to making gaming content. I just need to figure out if that's going to serve me, and how exactly to fit it into my schedule. I do intend to go back to live streaming, but I may switch my Twitch over to being me. It doesn't mean that we won't game on it, but I do want to do some more word content over there, so keep that in mind if you like being able to interact with me live. It doesn't mean that I won't go live on YouTube. I haven't really decided how all this is going to go. I'm also considering going live on TikTok. I don't know what's happening with the chickadee side of things and just the general live side of things. So just keep your ears pricked up if live content is something you're interested in, or if gaming content is something you're interested in, or if TTRPG content is something you're interested in. Some fun life events. Me and Ben, we went to an escape room for the first time, which was an absolute blast. We definitely will be doing more. I don't know if I want to do it with more people than just the two of us, because I feel like I really enjoy puzzles, so I feel like having too many cooks in the kitchen means that I won't be able to interact with puzzles as much. Like, I won't be able to interact with each of the puzzles. So we might keep it to just the two of us, maybe up to like another couple, we'll see. But it was a lot of fun. We unfortunately did not escape this escape room, but we got very, very close. Given like another 10 minutes, I'm sure we would have been out, because we were definitely going the right direction for the final puzzle. There were a couple of puzzles that tripped us up a little more than they should have, and obviously I can't talk about the specifics. I don't want to ruin any puzzles for you. But two of them, I definitely like said the solution out loud without really realizing that I had figured it out, which was interesting. One of those was a fantastic red herring type thing that tripped us up, and the other one was just embarrassing. We also decided to pick up disc golf because we were seeing it a lot. And, you know, the more you see something, the more likely it is that you're actually going to do it. The advertising worked. And it's a lot of fun. Not good at it at all, but it is a lot of fun. I think it's really interesting that the discs are so different and that you actually have like a driver and a putter disc. Now, I used to be like okay at Ultimate Frisbee. It was something that I played. I mean, I really just played it with friends, but I played it with people who did play it competitively, and like I was like not keeping up with them, but like I wasn't really holding them back, if that makes sense. So, in theory, I know how to throw a disc. I think I've lost that, and also the discs used for Ultimate Frisbee are far different from the discs that are used for disc golf, so I think that's kind of like holding me back a little bit too, but also just like the muscle memory isn't there anymore, so we're working on it, and we'll continue to work on it through the fall, I'm sure. We got to see a lot of people that I haven't seen in a while. I had a couple of family events. We went camping in May, which we do every May, with like the same family group. And then I had a baby shower that I attended, as well as a 93rd birthday party. All of those were really good, getting to see people that I hadn't seen in a while. In addition to that, we also saw some friends that we haven't seen in a while, mostly because everybody got really busy, especially since they have had 2 children. So their lives got quite a bit more hectic, as well as germy illness from having children. They were like, we'd see you more often if we weren't always sick, so we were happy to finally see them, especially since one of our other friend group who had moved away a little while ago ended up being back in town when we were trying to set up seeing them, so we got to see them as well. That was a great time. Got a lot of catching up done, and I'll talk about it a little bit more in the crochet section. I think the last big thing that doesn't really fit into the other categories is we got a new kitten. He's very cute, very kitten, very energy. You have maybe seen him in a video. He's the little orange one. You guys see Iggy all the time because he's always here, but I'll put a picture up of Monsieur Canby Featherbottom. For those of you unaware, our other cat also has a crazy name like that. His name is Sir Ignatius Featherbottom. So of course we had to give them the same last name, and of course we had to give the new kitten a title. And originally, we had called him Captain. But then we found out at his first vet appointment that he had originally been found in Gatineau because we got him from a rescue. But this was like his second rescue, I guess. He was originally found in Gatineau, and so we were like, we must call him something French. And I prefer Monsieur to like, I don't know, what is captain in French? Is it just captain? Yeah, I think it's Capitaine, right? I much prefer Monsieur. And also it matches Sir a little bit more, even though Monsieur is like more casual than we see just Sir, but like I don't think it's no, I don't even think that's true. So Sir or Monsieur I think makes sense. For those of you who have been here for BookTube, so you know, like my book reviews, my TBRs, and my reading wrap-ups, you'll be most interested in this. So since the season started before I started doing TBRs, I'm going to go through everything that I read, which is Prince of Chaos by Roger Zelazny, Coming Through Slaughter by Michael Ondaatje, Confessions of an Igloo Dweller by James Houston, Feed by Myra Grant, Black No More by George Schuyler, Schuyler, Skylar, Scoiler. I should have really looked that up. That's embarrassing. The Troop by Nick Cutter, Nostalgia by M.G. Vasanji, and The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera, and I'm currently reading Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, as well as short stories from Wilderness Tips by Margaret Atwood, and Dubliners by James Joyce. But I think more interestingly, my top 3 of the season have been Feed by Myra Grant, which was an absolutely fantastic read. I love both the structure and the concept of it. And I really haven't stopped thinking of this book. This is definitely like my top book of the year so far. It was certainly a fresh take, at least from the media I've consumed, on the zombie genre as well. And I absolutely love the zombie genre, as well as just like dystopian, post-apocalyptic in general. So oh, and I was super excited to find out that it was part of a series. I had no idea. This was a book that was on my partner's shelf, which had actually been, I think this is the one that had been lent to him by a friend like years ago. Like it's been in our house the entire time we've been together, and we've been together for nearly 10 years. So he's had it a long time. He hasn't even read it. So now that I've read it, I'm like, you have to read this. But I didn't really know what I was getting into, and I didn't realize it was a series. But it had also been mentioned by one of my teachers in school, which I was like, I have that on my shelf. I should really read that. And so I did. And then like I was on like Storygraph or whatever, and I realized that it was Newsflesh #1, and I was like, there's more? So there's like 4 other main series books plus like a bunch of other ones, I think. 3 or 4. And so I'm definitely going to try to read those. But Feed, definitely top book of the season, currently top book of the year. Number 2 on this list, they're not really in order, but Feed is definitely the first one. Oh my god, the rain is really coming down out there. I forgot it was supposed to rain today. I bet you the lighting has changed quite a lot. I think it still looks okay, though. Okay. The next one is Coming Through Slaughter by Michael Ondaatje. This one was one of the many from my physical TBR that I actually read before I started this TBR 0 that I'm currently in. And it is one that I was definitely supposed to have read for school and definitely didn't read. But I wish I would have, or maybe I wouldn't have appreciated it as much then, which is kind of why I'm rereading some of the books that I even know that I read. Anyways, this one was another one with a super interesting concept. Oh my gosh, I'm losing here. I'm fading. My nose is filling, and my throat is quite dry. From what I understand about this book, it's constructed based on some facts, but the life of the man it follows is not very well documented, and so some of his life has been fictionalized. I think a lot of it has been fictionalized, or like, rather, it's been guesstimated. What is the matter with me? From the last little bit of the book, like, they kind of give, like, an overview of how Ondaatje went about this. So, like, he did, like, visit places, conduct interviews, find, like, actual records of, like, marriages and things like that. So it's super cool stuff once you realize that, but I don't think, like, I didn't really know that going in. So finding that out at the end, it almost makes me want to like reread it. I'm sure if I had paid attention in school about it and remembered paying attention in school about it, I would have known that that's what was going on. But anyways, it was a very interesting book. And then the third of my top three is Confessions of an Igloo Dweller by James Houston. This is my only nonfiction read of the summer, which I would like to change. There are lots of nonfiction books on my, like, TBR, but, like, my non-physical one. But it's the only one that I read this summer, unfortunately. I'm gonna fix it. But also I'm working on TBR 0. Maybe I'll make an exception if I pick up some nonfiction books that I'm allowed to add those in. We'll see. So the focus of this memoir is on Inuit art, but there was a lot more to the book. Obviously, art is a part of culture, and so it's really hard to look at that without looking at the broader culture. And then secondarily, Houston's job at the time that the memoir is talking about was to kind of like promote Inuit art to the rest of North America and beyond. And so there's also like a little bit of like traveling and of course like a little bit of political struggle. Probably could have delved into that more, but also that might be more interesting and more truthful to look at from a memoir of an Inuit person rather than a white man living among them, if you will. Houston did do a very good job of kind of showing the connection between the life lived in the Arctic and the way that that's expressed in the art. And I think that's a really interesting thing to look at, to kind of look at a broader culture and see how it's expressed through their art, rather than just looking at like global trends or not noticing how those things kind of like go together. All right, on to writing and editing, both personal writing and editing, as well as client, at least the stuff that I can talk about. My personal writing has been pretty slow going, and I need to take my own advice and schedule in some time for writing. But I do currently have 3 works in progress, and I've worked on outlines for each of them and have like some ideas for all of them. But I haven't written an actual word that will go in the manuscript for any of them yet. So I think going forward, I'm going to have to pick one and work on it, and I know which one I'll pick because it's the one that I've been thinking about for the longest. I've actually been thinking about it for like over a year now because it was inspired by a particular literary journal. So I'm kind of like writing to that. Speaking of literary journals, I do have one story out there in the ether submitted to a literary journal, also written specifically for that literary journal, and I should be hearing back about it like within the next 10 or so days at the point of recording this, because they suggest that everybody should know if they've been accepted about 6 weeks after the submission deadline. We're still waiting, and it is nerve-wracking. And then, like, I kind of went about this backwards, because this is kind of, like, old news now, but I am officially published, which is pretty cool. I got published as part of my program. That's probably something I should have mentioned in the top, is that I also graduated this summer. That's... How was that not mentioned? I graduated this summer, guys. Technically, I graduated, like, this spring or whatever. Like, the program ends at the end of April, but my graduation wasn't until June, so... however you want to call that. But I got published as part of that. I'm in a short stories anthology, so that's really cool. I'll put a picture of it. I'll link down there. But you can pick it up on Barnes & Noble and Amazon as a print copy, and then also as an ebook on there, as well as Indigo, and then, like, basically... I'm gonna say anywhere you can get ebooks is probably not anywhere, but it's a very long list. I did also make sure that it's available on Storygraph for reviews. I believe I saw it on Goodreads as well, so if you guys want to read it and drop a review, that would be super cool. For client projects, I don't have a lot I can talk about, and the one that I can talk about has not been published yet. But I have written 2 blogs for Resilient Writers, which is actually where I did my placement as well. So there are three writing prompt blog posts that are already up there, but two new ones should be going up. We're still like, I've written them, but like I'm still waiting to hear back about like if there are any edits or changes that she'd like me to make, and therefore they haven't been published yet. But there will be one on how to outline your novel, and then also how to just get that first draft written. When they're live, links will be available. Definitely in the blog, and I will try to remember to come back and add them down to the description as well. That's really the only client project I can talk about right now. There are a couple of things that I'm kind of like talking to people about. Other hobbies, we'll be talking about crochet and hiking, as well as like camping a little bit, I suppose. The crochet bug has hit again. I wish I could hold up the crochet for you, but I've already given it as a gift. But I made a little woodland tiger lovey that looks suspiciously like Tigger. I also, in the past, have made a woodland bear, which looks suspiciously like Winnie the Pooh. I was super excited. This is the friends that I saw this summer that I haven't seen in a while. I gave their daughter the tiger. She loved it, and it made me so happy. I do have more nibblings to make these for, so I will probably be making 3 more, hopefully soon. I need to make sure that I have the yarn. I have a very large yarn stash that I inherited from my granny, and I should have the colors that I need, but I haven't gone through and sorted it yet. I still have like 1 load left that I have to wash because they came to me smelling very much of cigarette smoke. But in addition to that, there's also a couple of garments that I'd like to try to make. Because it's still kind of warm out, I'm thinking a tank top. I have a couple ideas for this. Either way, it's probably going to be like a triangle top construction. It's just, I don't know what I'm going to do at the bottom yet. Originally, I had a pattern that I was going to follow, and it was just going to be like a crocheted top. But now I'm considering doing like a triangle, construction top and then using granny squares as kind of like the bottom of it. And I think I'm leaning toward a blue-green with white as the base, so like blue-green flowers, and then white as a base. And then I don't know if I'm going to do daisies or retro daisies. I'm now leaning toward daisies. And then the other thing that I want to do is a granny square based sweater, but I want to do stained glass granny squares for some of the squares. For that one, I think I will have to actually go out and get a variegated yarn that I like to do the colored part, and then the rest of it will just be black, I think. Although I guess in theory I could do it any color I want. I watched this series by Breathing Yarn here on YouTube about like your personal style, and I've also kind of fallen down the interior design rabbit hole with Caroline Winkler. So I've been thinking a lot about like color palettes and things that like I would want in my color palette. So I suppose I could do like a different base color, but black isn't bad. Black isn't like not part of my color palette. It's just not like a big piece of it, because to me, most neutrals are like, it's fine. They're fine. For me, it's like the actual like colored parts, and I also just like prefer color, but sometimes black and white or navy or brown is kind of like the color for it. Anyways, ooh, maybe brown. That might be it. We might have figured it out right here. For hiking, I don't really have a whole lot to say about the hiking and camping I did, but I'm gonna just like insert video and pictures so you can view them as I kind of like list them off. So we went camping in Algonquin Park at Pog Lake, and we did the Algonquin Lookout Trail as well as the Spruce Bog Boardwalk. And then in and around Ottawa, we've done the Mud Lake Trail, Merbleu Boardwalk, and then we took a jaunt out to Calabogie and did the Eagle's Nest Trail. We just went up to the Eagle's Nest and then back down because we were heading over to family afterwards. So we didn't have like 4 billion hours to hike the whole thing. I think it's actually a 4-hour hike. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look at it again. I think that's all the hiking we did. All of them were great hikes. The two boardwalks were very cool. It was very interesting to be able to compare two bogs to each other. The Spruce Bog boardwalk was quite a bit more desolate looking. I assume it's in like an older bog or just a more isolated bog, perhaps. I learned a bunch about bogs from the Spruce Bog boardwalk because it came with a little book to read through as you went. So I understand the construction and maintenance of that bog a little bit more than I do Merbleu. And then Mud Lake was really interesting because a lot of it was just like super curated, but then we got to a point and we were like, there's no trail here, but also we're like in the city and there's buildings there. And then you end up having to like walk past a building. There's not really trail because you like cross a road. And then you're walking on like unmaintained trail. Really interesting. And then the Eagle's Nest starts off very steep, and we weren't really expecting that. So it was a short trail. We didn't go very far into it. We did get off trail quite a few times because it is like such a natural area. And it was like relatively challenging as far as like having to kind of like clamber up and over rocks and things like that. Now, some of that was because we'd go the wrong way and we'd clamber up and then have to clamber back down, or clamber down and then have to clamber back up. So maybe the trail isn't actually challenging, but the first little bit of it definitely is, and I find it hard to like start off on like a challenging steep thing. Like there's no like warm up to it. But it was a great trail. We really enjoyed it. Lots of great like lookout spots, not just the Eagle's Nest lookout. My other favorite media consumed, we'll talk about my favorite movie, which in the blog post is Incantation. Probably still true. But I've now started tracking my watches on Letterboxd, so I think I'll have a better idea of what my actual favorite movie is for next season's wrap-up, because I'll be able to like actually go back and look at what I've seen, because I do think it's a little bit of recency bias. But it was really good. Very scary. The concept's very immersive. My favorite game is actually a game that I haven't played yet, but I played the demo for it and I really enjoyed the demo, and I actually picked up the full game, which is called Two Falls. It's super interesting. It follows two different protagonists. One is an Innu hunter named Macon, or Makan, or Makin. I'm not quite sure. I don't think we heard his name in the demo. And then the other one is a fur trader named Jean. And obviously this takes place in 1800s Canada. So it's Canadian. It's made by Indigenous creators. I don't think everybody who worked on it was Indigenous, but a lot of them were. And it teaches about history, which is something else I really like in games. If you want to know more about it, I do have a demo, kind of like first impressions review over on the Chickadee channel, previously mentioned. I'll leave it in a card. And I'll stand in the description if you want to check it out. And favorite show watched is kind of a toss-up between Adolescence and The Rookie, but because we haven't finished The Rookie, I'm going to go with Adolescence. Obviously, it was a very emotional and kind of like dark, hard to watch content. But it was really good. It touches on something like very important in our society right now, I think. That being kind of like what society what's happening with young men in our current society. That's a very please don't read into anything in the way that like I talk about that, because I have extremely nuanced takes on all of that. But this is not the place to talk about them, I don't think. But I do think that the story that was being told is a really important one. Or at least like the themes of the story were really important. And then also just the cinematography was really interesting, being that each episode was like one continuous. I don't think it was a continuous take, but it was like one continuous like shot. Like not. I'm sure there are cuts, is what I'm trying to say, because I don't think they actually like did it in one take. But the camera follows the entire time, is I guess what I'm getting at, and I think that was super cool. So now for my favorite media created, so my favorite blog post I wrote and my favorite video I made. While I loved the So You Want to Hire an Editor series, as far as blog posts go, I think the achievable goals don't have to be daily was my favorite blog post, and you will be getting a video for that very soon. I will be it'll be the one that goes up after this one. um and I think part of that is that it was the first one that wasn't part of that first series that I was writing. And so it was nice to kind of switch things up, and that's why I liked it so much. But I mean, I think it's good too. It's about kind of like ways that you can alter the way that you set your goals so that they kind of work for you. This is particularly good for people who have kind of like who are trying to work with things that aren't necessarily predictable. So, you know, like being a caregiver, having multiple jobs, neurodivergency, chronic illness, chronic pain, mental illness, all those kinds of things, like ways to kind of like help yourself not feel guilty when you're making these goals. And yeah, I hope that makes sense. It's a great blog post. If you want to wait for the video, I totally understand. That'll be coming out soon. As far as my favorite video that I made this summer, I honestly think it's my July TBR Canadian authors. I learned a lot of things, not just in the making of it, but in what I've made since, and the difference between that one and then my next TBR and wrap-up video. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to figure out how to do more like that. My October TBR might be more like that one. I'm not entirely sure yet, so don't hold me to it. But I liked having and other people seem to have really liked this as well, is having the TBR and then recommendations in the same kind of category. Was a really good video. I also just like had a lot of fun making it. It was my first TBR video. And so I just enjoyed it. It was a good learning process. I think it turned out really well, and people have really liked it too. If I had to or if I was allowed, which I can do whatever I want, this is my wrap up. But an honorable mention video would be my real-time editing video. I didn't think people would like that as much as they did, so I heard you. You'll be getting more real-time writing, editing, and revising videos, I promise. I have a project coming in October. And that's all I'm gonna say. So you'll have to, you know, subscribe, dingle the bell, whatever, so that you can come back and see what that project is. But yeah, the July TBR video was really good, and again, like comparing that to some other videos I've made since, I've learned a lot, so get ready for more things that are probably better than some of the other things that I've made, because learning is good, and this is a very new type of content for me. Most of my other content has just been gaming. There's been some TTRPG stuff and like talking about it, but even then it was still not the same as this. So this is very work in progress, very experimental, very me learning what this channel is going to be. I hope you're enjoying that learning process and will continue to enjoy it. And maybe in a couple of years, I'll have it figured out just for it to not actually be figured out because things change month to month, day to day, whatever. Hour to hour, probably. And then looking forward to next season. So I've alluded to a couple of things already. As the weather cools down, obviously things are going to change. I will probably be less busy in my personal life because as the weather gets colder, I huddle up in my house even more. That being said, that is one thing that I'd like to change is being out of the house more, even if it's just by myself. And this will also help with something else that I'd like to do, which again, I mentioned before that I really need to be scheduling in time to write. Take my own advice. I tell you guys to schedule time to write, and then I don't do it myself. So scheduling time to write and scheduling time to write outside of the house. I do find like going to the park, going to a cafe, going to the library, I find those things really help me focus on doing something, whether that's editing something, writing something. It always really helps me kind of work on just that one thing, even if I still have access to the internet. It's just like a mind change by being in a different place. And so I'm going to try to hold myself to leaving the house to write or edit once a week. And in that, I think I'll try to do, like fit checks and mini vlogs and things like that. Probably short content, just of like me going to write somewhere else. We'll see how that goes. I'm not really gonna guarantee anything yet, and I've already broken it for fall. Obviously, I'm recording this in September. If you saw my August reading wrap-up, you know that I've been sick. You've maybe seen me cough. I don't know if I cut all of those out or not, but you'll probably see the aftermath of it. My face gets real red. I noticed this in my wrap-up. I cut out a cough, but then you can like see the like red drain from my face, and it bothered me. It's so much so that I put a note from editing Jerica. So I'm not gonna go out while I'm sick, both for me and for everyone around me. So I mean, this week probably not gonna leave the house to do writing. Also didn't schedule time in to write this week, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen in the autumn at some point. At some point in these 3 months, that's gonna be added into my routines. There are a couple other routines that I'm kind of trying to add in. I don't want to add too much in at the same time, but get ready for it. Not so much September, but come October, there's probably going to be a lot of horror media consumed because I already love horror, and so if there's an excuse to consume more horror, I'm gonna take it, which means it's very likely that horror books, movies, TV shows, games are gonna show up in those top other media consumed and books for the next season wrap-up. It's possible that September or November will have something that's not horror that shows up in the top. We'll see. It's pretty hard to beat horror. I love horror. My top book and my top movie were horror for this season, and it was in October. So that being said, that also means that I'm gonna aim my book reviews and my TBR for October to be horror. So if you're a horror fan and you're looking for things to read, those things will be there for you. In addition to that, we're hoping to actually do one of the haunted walks around Ottawa. I've been saying since I moved to Ottawa that I wanted to do one, and that was a long time ago. And I still haven't done it. So hopefully writing it in the blog, saying it to you, telling my partner again, hey Ben, I'd really like to do this. Maybe we'll actually do it. So you'll hopefully get to hear about that. I think that's it. We're probably still going to try to get a couple more hikes in. The weather isn't super cold yet, and honestly, with the way that our weather goes, it's possible that we'll be hiking into November. It's also possible that we'll have a bunch of snow in November. Who knows? Speaking of November, that's also my birthday month, so there should be some fun things to talk about from that. Ben said that he has a surprise day trip that he's planning for my birthday, so we'll find out. Well, I'll find out, and then you'll get to find out what that is, because I don't know what it is yet. It's a surprise. So, if you want to know what I'm doing for my birthday, you'll have to come back. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's the end of my end of summer wrap. I hope you found this interesting. You saw some things that, I don't know, inspired you, or you just think were fun or interesting to learn about me. I'd love to know what you got up to this summer. Your like maybe your biggest achievement or the most fun thing that you did. Let me know down in the comments. As well as what you're looking forward to in the autumn. Are you an autumn person? Do you love autumn, or are you dreading the colder weather coming? Let me know. I'm an autumn person, not so much a winter person, not so much a summer person. I like autumn, so it is kind of like my favorite time of year as well. So looking forward to it being my favorite time of year. And that's it. So I hope you guys had fun. I had a blast. Catch you next time. Bye.